Heyo everybody, Haku here with my live reaction to read through for Kubera Season 2 episodes 138, 139, and 141, or 139 and 140. I can't count apparently. I've got the Tower of God high ranker debuff. I can't do basic arithmetic. Not even arithmetic. I can't count. But I think I'm just gonna do 3 chapters this time around because I am running a day late. I don't want to take the week off. I want to keep reading. I want to spend more time with Kubera. But I also have 11 videos that are recorded that I still, some of them are even 4 weeks old at this point that I haven't had time to edit or anything. So I really want to get to all that stuff, so I'm just going to keep things to 3 chapters for now, even if the videos are a little bit shorter until I get caught up with this other stuff. I just really want to catch up with this other stuff, but I also don't want to take time off from Kubera. So I feel like the sort of medium, the middle road between those two things is still doing Kubera, but I'm only going to do 3 chapters, and it's going to be a little bit on the shorter side, but it's just, I want to do more stuff than just Webtoon stuff. I really want to do Webtoon stuff, but I want to do other things too. But I'm excited to continue reading because everything's been great, as it always has been with Kubera. I guess we have Yuta entering his bondage arc. So I just thought about this while setting up my microphone, setting everything up to record. If Yuta had the flesh scarf modified using the hide of bondage as an ingredient, a material, that's a better word. I guess that means the flesh scarf is no longer going to be the flesh scarf we once knew. It is now permanently bondage form flesh scarf. But either way, I don't know if there's anything I really want to talk about before getting into reading. We can just talk about things as we read. There was one thing when I was watching Pyro's reaction this week. I think there was someone... God, there was some character that mentioned... Yeah, I think it was Marina maybe talking to Yuta way back during the invasion of Calibloom. And he mentions their enemy or whatever isn't a god and it's not one of the Ananta. And so it could be another tribe of Shura, but it's why would they be talking about another tribe of Shura in these terms? So is their enemy or whatever they're trying to do to protect the power of the name from this and that, is it maybe related to the person with the brown hair and whatever was going on with that group and the people who talked to Asha and were kind of a part of everything that happened on the ship? Because that stuff is still a mystery to me. So I wonder if that's all going to be connected. There's just this deeper underlying plot and potential villain group that we don't even actually have that much info on yet. But either way, going to continue reading. Let's just start with 138. No need to continue rambling. We can talk as we go through it. So we're seeing Yuta, like last time, arriving at the city. So if he is outside of the city's travel radius, I don't know if the city's going to move itself or if they're going to somehow warp it. If it does warp though, is there the chance that he warps to the city and the city warps away from him? I don't know if he can just warp immediately again though, if that is the case. But honestly, I'm going to be real with you. I kind of like the black and red bondage form Yuta a bit more than his last outfit. His original outfit after developing. What's going on? Looks like the humans are up to something. It would probably be hard to find myself a sponsor, even if I went to the checkpoint right now, I just thought. Because one of the temples here is the Temple of Wind, and wind magic's the one that lets you, fast travel. They say that gods can just pass right through barriers. I'm not sure if wearing this will make me seen as a god, but I'll just try it for now. If it doesn't work, I'll find another way. Smart. I like that we get that little explanation. Part 2, Episode 138, Your Justice and Mine, Part 4. Did you manage to modify that scarf? Modifying a body part of a living creature. I've never seen or heard of such a thing, and we're back to Tilda and Lutz. Modifying magic sometimes works even on living creatures, Tilda. The Staff of Agni is a part of Agni, the fire god, yet it's been modified countless times so far. What? That's because the Staff of Agni is a godly item, but Yuta's scarf is not a godly item. Why do you think so? The hide of bondage was used as a material to modify that scarf. The godly item of that notorious goddess was used as a mere modifying material. There cannot be a higher divinity than a primeval god. No item should be able to consume the hide, or the hide of bondage as material. Never, unless the goddess Kali approves it. That kind of modification will never succeed. I thought it was a bit strange that you willingly used an item from someone else as a modifying material, so you agreed because you figured it wouldn't work anyway, but then it ended up working. I can think of one possibility. The possibility that Yuta and Kali are blood relatives. I've never heard of... I keep going back and forth between Kali and Kali, I feel like. I keep saying Kali, I think, because I would always say Calibloom instead of Calibloom. I've never heard of Kali having a son, but that's the only thing I can think of right now, since she's a goddess who vanished with several Gnostica names left by Vishnu. That's true. Okay, so if she does have the names of Gnostica, then, again, I said before, the power of the name is like the One Piece. I still, hundreds of chapters, and I still don't quite understand it. And it might be hundreds more. So having the power of the name could also play into Yuta's nature, what he is, how she made him, so to speak. Then, if she took one of those names to become a Gnostica herself and have a son, that son would be both a Rakshasa and have the characteristics of a god. Okay, so kind of the basics of what we know so far, but if she just had some names, like... it makes you wonder what she could use them for. But that does make sense. So she basically makes herself Taraka, so she's both Kali and Taraka, then has a kid who is both Kali and Taraka, and now also Garuda. If she took one of those names to become a Gnostica herself and have a son, that son would be both a Rakshasa and have the characteristics of a god. It may sound like a wild hypothesis, but there's no other explanation for me successfully modifying that scarf using the hide of bondage as a modifying material. If that hypothesis is true, isn't this a very dangerous situation? If he's the son of such a notorious goddess, there's a chance he might misuse that modified item. Do you look like he would? No, well, of course I think Yuta seems like a good guy. I've never seen a Shura like that in my almost a century alive. Honestly, I kind of felt kind of drawn to him. But you're not someone who acts on feelings like that, Lutz. I thought you wouldn't trust Yuta unless you had a more concrete reason. A reason? There are plenty of reasons. First of all, Ron isn't afraid of Yuta at all, and he's been very relaxed around him. Second, Agni's been silent in spite of knowing about Yuta's existence, and he allowed him to enter his city. And third, that day in Calibloom, he left on his own without Lise. This is so well put together because we know that Lutz is always like, it feels like what we've seen so far has been motivated by the greater good. He's willing to be a bit like short with people and a bit abrasive with people if it just means like doing things effectively for what he thinks is the right thing to do. He's willing to overlook crimes like everything that Asha's done if he's like, okay, Asha went out of her way to save people, and somebody who just has an evil motive wouldn't really do that in this situation. So even if Asha has done evil things, if it seems like Asha did those evil things for the greater good of, like, you know, killing some people to save other people, then he's willing to kind of go along with it or overlook it. And then here again, we have all these things set up that work perfectly well with his character that show why he would think like this about Yuta. First of all, the personal connection with Ron, who's really afraid of halves but is cool around Yuta. And then, of course, we see before that, I think it's interesting the way they're talking about Kali here too, where before they're like, well, if a god wants something or if a god thinks something is right, we kind of just have to go along with it because they're a god and we're just humans. So it's kind of interesting the way that Tilda was like a notorious goddess like that when talking about Kali. It's like, so are there gods or goddesses that the people don't really like, or if they were to come around, they'd be like, oh no, not them. I mean, like goddesses or gods of like chaos and death would kind of maybe make you feel that way, potentially. So it's interesting the way they talk about Kali, but again, the way they've talked about Agni before being like, well, if Agni decides that something is right or wrong, like he has foresight, so or the insight, he knows more than we do. He can read into the future, read more into the situation, what people are thinking. So we just kind of have to rely on what he thinks is right if he thinks something is right. So again, we're seeing that again with like, if Agni doesn't think that Yuta's outright dangerous, then, we don't have really anything to go on. Like, that's a big sort of green flag for Yuta. And then the big thing, while everybody else is thinking, okay, we might need to, just keep Lise around as somebody who can get eaten and revived over and over again, so that we can use Yuta for the greater good, which seems like something that on the surface level, Lutz would be totally fine with because of the Asha stuff. It seems like the kind of thing he's like, well, if we have to have him eat Lise and have her revive over and over again, then it is what it is. But he's like taking note here that instead of going along with that, Yuta on his own will cared more about Lisa's safety than staying around her and being used. Ultimately, it means that he valued the life of a single human more than his own instincts or desires. Even if it's only limited to Lise, the fact that he made such a choice is important. That's true. There's no cure when a creature with a long lifespan falls for someone with a shorter lifespan. Are you speaking from experience? Not my own. Anyway, as the priest, pay attention to defending Eloth. We may be far away from where the Shuras are gathering, but we still have one Kubera here. Don't you have anything else to say? About what? Never mind. And we see a note. Then something isn't to execute Asha. Oh, the note about... Okay, yeah, that one. The results of the recent life search shows that there are 3 Kubera left. One in Rind Hollow, Eloth, and here in Arrow Plateau. Only 3? I thought there were still more Kuberas. I'm keeping it a secret just in case, but I've already figured out who all 3 are. The Shuras are targeting Rind Hollow since it has the weakest defenses out of the 3 cities. Most of the Rakshasas and Upani high-rank Shuras are concentrated around Rind Hollow right now. If the attack is as big as the one on Atera, they should be able to stop it at Rind Hollow, but there are way more Shuras around Rind Hollow right now than there were during the attack on Atera. I thought even after everything that Asha had done, I thought there were still like at least a dozen or so Kuberas left. But this makes the story more interesting with there just being the 3. Okay. Anantas, Garudas, even Yakshas. Rind Hollow will be destroyed if we don't do something. So you're going to move Arrow Plateau to help Rind Hollow. That's right, Arrow Plateau is the only floating city out of the 6 cities that can move around. If another city moves through the air and overlaps with its barrier, both of the cities are much safer than when they're separate. They can't always stay together since it causes a few problems, but this is the best option for at least temporary defense. But this would endanger everyone, including the Kubera and Arrow Plateau. How can you go through with this without discussing it with other people? There's no time to ask for opinions, and I'm not in a position to accept any opposing opinions. And again, I think whatever Saha is doing, whatever Saha's plans are in the end, I think Saha is genuinely trying to protect everyone and help everyone, but I think that much like Asha was... I don't think her goals are as noble as trying to protect everyone or anything, but much like Asha was able to go through with some really bad stuff to go for whatever her goals are. And I said before, like, Lutz is like, okay, we can overlook some bad things to protect the greater good. I think whatever Saha's trying to do here, when it comes to what Saha thinks is best for everyone, I think that Saha's also like being shown to be willing to ignore other people's opinions, ignore other people's consent, and just say, okay, this is what we're doing because I think it's the best thing to do. Have you thought about what the Shura's next target will be after the Kubera and Rentalo dies? In the face of a planet-level threat, thinking of our own safety and spreading out would only bring about our own demise. If we can't beat them, we'll be in danger no matter where we are anyway. If they launch a full-scale attack over there, we need to make it our goal to drive them away with our full force. What about those who can't fight? Shouldn't we evacuate them first? Heidi, we can't evaluate? Is this a typo and they meant evacuate, or do they mean evaluate as in we can't evaluate which people who can't fight? I think they might just mean evacuate, though. I think it might be a typo, maybe. We can't evacuate people like that from Air Plateau. It would take forever to evacuate civilians with our few transport ships. It's unfortunate, but we'll have to take everyone here with us in order to help Rintalo. So, I hope you will each try to minimize civilian casualties as best you can. And again, it's one of those things where, like Saha said earlier too, I don't have time to get people's permission ahead of time. I don't have time to get civilians out of the way, and I'm willing to sacrifice that there probably will be some civilian casualties, but we'll just have to try to keep them to the minimal. And that's pretty reasonable, I think, too, in a situation like this, because you're up against, like, godlike threats. This puts a lot of pressure on us. I knew it was strange that the meeting place suddenly got changed to Era Plateau. Checking Asha's magic records was only the superficial reason, The real reason was to increase support for Rentalo, right? This is interesting, too. If we look at it as Saha really wants to protect Eloth, and instead of Eloth, they're gathering around Rintalo, we could see it as Saha doesn't want to put Eloth in danger. Saha doesn't want the battle to come to Eloth. So what he wants to do is focus everyone and everything they have at Rintalo so that all the fighting occurs there. If there's any civilian casualties or destruction, it's there. And it stops them before they even kill the one at Rentalo and start moving, potentially, to Eloth. Because I think that's where they said the third one was, right? Or did they say it was Misty Shore or something, and I'm just getting it wrong? That might be something that scrolling back and double-checking would be important to know for the future. Okay. Yeah, there is one in Eloth. So, again, to keep the battle away from Eloth, focus all the Shura's attentions and try to stop the Shura. And even if they can't defeat the Shura or anything, just try to keep them at a stalemate. And the longer that they're stuck over attacking Rentalo and Arrow Plateau, the longer that Rentalo and Arrow Plateau are basically serving as shields for Eloth. Like, it might be more worldwide than that, and Saha's trying to protect everyone and just sees this as the best thing to do just because they're at Rentalo. But if you see it as specifically wanting to help Eloth, because they mentioned, where do you think they'll go next? After taking out the one in Rentalo, then you could see it as protecting Eloth. And of course, Claude bringing it up here, changing the trial, the meeting to happen at Arrow Plateau wasn't just so you could check Asha's magic record, or you can at least use Asha's magic record. Even though you had evidence outside of that, you could specifically want things to happen at Arrow Plateau, just so that the magicians are here. You gather all the magicians together, then you take Arrow Plateau to Rintalo, and again, you're focusing everything and everyone at Rintalo without getting their permission or telling them what you're doing ahead of time. Since this is the best way to gather high rankers who have a lot of time, or who have lots of time on their hands, especially people like you, he tears up. Yeah, he should really be protecting his city anyway. I really did just pass right through. Yeah, I like this outfit for you more. Being your son comes in handy sometimes, Mother. If I keep wearing this, I should be able to enter and leave cities like a god, right? But I don't need that kind of ability. This is just for Lise. Lise. he's able to find her. To be continued. Very good chapter. Again, the writing in Kubera continues to be very, very deep. I feel like I got a lot of discussion out of that one. That's the thing. For some chapters, it's just like things happen, things are good, things are cool. And then for some chapters, it's like, okay, there is a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on. And I think the writing here was really, really great. We got stuff with like Lutz's character, with Saha in the meeting, and like the reveal that, oh, you used this as pretense to gather all the available high rankers here and then transport them to fight at Calibloom. Because if you would have just, like they did before, put out the call for help, like, hey, Calibloom needs aid, some of these people might not have answered that call. But if you say, hey, we need you at this floating island, gather them all to the floating island, and then take them to Calibloom, it's like, okay, well, now I have all the high rankers here to help defend Calibloom. And again, I don't know if it's to protect Eloth, or if it has anything to do with Eloth specifically, or if Saha's really just genuinely, specifically trying to protect the planet as a whole and sees this as the best way to do it, or is genuinely just trying to get as many forces as possible in one place, and this is the best option for doing that. Like, that could be possible. Or if it is about protecting Eloth, I like the layers that go in of how this could be protecting Eloth by gathering everybody up and having the battle take place at Arrow Plateau / Calibloom, and using them basically as shields for Eloth to have the battle here, the big climactic battle, if they can hold the Shuras off. Have it here before any harm comes to the citizens or even just physical buildings of Eloth. But that was very, very good. Either way, though, let's go read the afterword. The afterword this time says, I want to fly like Yuna. Again, the auto-translate is funny with some of these translations. For those who feel that the character Kali is very unfamiliar, please watch part 1, episodes 96 to 99. There's surprisingly quite a few people who don't watch it from beginning, but start from the middle. That's very odd. But yeah, there are people that do that, I guess. Now all that's left is to be tied to the barrier stone, or maybe he'll go out and fight unexpectedly. Anyway, it doesn't make much of a difference if the candidate for priesthood takes charge of the barrier. Then it's addressed with the chest open. Do you think it would look like that when Lise wears it? Then I might get banned from Webtoon, lol. Okay, and 149 empathy. Either way, very, very fun chapter, but we still have more to read. If it's as long as this one, we could end up with an over an hour video. Starting 139. What's going on? I haven't seen that since the Great Upheaval. Although I've heard that it can move around when another city's in a crisis. They stayed still during the Terra attack and Calibloom attack. Why'd they only move this time? Is the situation that serious? Christ, I knew this would happen since I heard the news about the Terra attack. The magicians will probably make decisions on their own, oppose and go nuts, right? I don't even care whether it's a battlefield or wherever. Being inside the city sure beats being outside it. Again, yeah, for like random citizens, it's like, oh yeah, okay, now we're being taken to a battlefield. But then it's like, well, I guess with the being taken to a battlefield, we will still have the barriers protecting us compared to being outside of the barriers. Even considering this and that, we've been living in Arrow Plateau because we like it here. Where else could we possibly go and live in a house like we do here? Man, I wouldn't have lived like such a bum if I had any real magic talent, fighting skills, or whatever. Hey, then you would probably get pushed onto the battlefield right away. Whether it's because of a sense of responsibility or because people push you into it, you would obviously be in a dangerous situation. I'd rather just live without any kind of talent while getting protection. And see, this is interesting too, because it's like, would Lise have been happier just living talentless like she thought she was before, couldn't even do math, anything, just talentless out in a village, or because you have this talent, do you, like, whether, again, other people push you into it, or whether it's a sense of responsibility because you can fight, you can do something, you do have this talent. It's like, now Lise is going to be kind of forced into fighting either way. And honestly, even before everything happened, it's kind of like Lise was always, like, from the moment she was born a Kubera, she was always going to be forced into this. Even if nobody wanted her to, even if everybody was like, no, don't fight, stay out of it, like people have been, like Mirhead just was, out of a sense of, like, responsibility because you were born with this power, she's going to be sucked into things. I'll tell you how to kill him. In a battle against high-rank Shuras with the ridiculous regeneration powers, there's a huge difference between whether the owner of the Sword of Return participates or not. Plus, it's not like we can hand Lisa's sword over to anyone else. So it'd be good if Lise helped out, even by throwing the sword from a distance and retrieving it. Did Asha predict this kind of situation too? Am I acting according to Asha's plan, even now? Then, that would really be funny. So funny that it would bring tears to my eyes. Jeez, forcing us to move to Rindhollow? Why wasn't I told about this? After I did the life search for him and tried so hard to help him, he keeps the most important thing from me. We have Ron and Rana. Ron, if I'd known this would happen, it would have been better for you to stay in Misty Shore. What do you mean? It's better this way. They need recovery spell experts in this kind of battle. Is that so? Then why didn't you just apply for the Rindhollow support team to begin with? I thought you might worry. What? Maybe I'm wrong. Hey, Rana, what did you mean by that just now? And she can't bring herself to get their attention. Your Justice and Mine, Part 5. We have Yuta hanging out with the new, I guess, flesh cloak, the flesh scarf bondage form. And he sees a shot of the long-absent Kubiris. Should I just give it to her when she's awake? No, they say that Lise doesn't even remember what happened that day. Right! Hold on, the cloak that she's been wearing this entire time, when we see her adult form, has the fluffy things around the shoulders, has the open chest. Kurigan might have been playing coy, but is the flesh scarf bondage form just the dress that Lise wears in her adult form? I am just now putting that together. No, they say that Lise doesn't even remember what happened that day, so if she stops me and asks me why I'm leaving, I couldn't even explain that. It's not like anything's going to happen to Lise right now, so there's no need to go and leave her with sadness. I'll just leave this to Lise secretly, after she falls asleep, and then leave. And now we have him forcing his way in. And then she reacts, but he goes back. It'd be really dangerous if I stay and watch her more. It's unfortunate, but I'll have to go right now. I'm sorry I can't be by your side, but I will at least protect you like this when you're in danger. Hang in there, Lise. Yuta? And he freezes. I'm not dreaming, am I? Yuta, it's you, isn't it? Yuta, what a relief you're back. I've been waiting for you for so long. There's no way she'd be happy to see me if she remembered what happened before. It doesn't look like it looks like she really doesn't remember what happened in Calibloom. Do you have any idea how much I worried when you disappeared without saying anything? Yuta, look at me. Why are you turned around? Don't leave like that anymore, okay? I'm sorry, Lise. And he teleports away. And even compared to before, I think whenever we saw Lise, like, in her sleepwear, it was always like white or light yellow or something like that. But now it's black. We have now even entered dark mode Lise. We have the scarf of bondage. I don't even know what to call it anymore, left behind. That's strange. I tried to leave the city right away. But why did I only make it this far? And a slash goes through and he has to dodge. Oh, is Lise going to try to stop him? Lise? Or is it going to be the sword taking over like what happened before? And I don't know if the sword taking over is Kali because it's her god class weapon, or if it's future Lise. And then she slashes a couple times. I think from the dialogue it was probably Kali because it is her god class item, so I guess she's using that to sort of channel herself through Lise. Maybe that's something Shinkube can do too, like with the bracelets, or maybe not, but Shinkube does just seem to like be able to pop up where Lise is if he really wants to. What are you doing, Lise? Why are you attacking? And then, is he going to teleport and take her with him? Why are you leaving? You promised me. And if it is Kali taking over, or maybe it isn't, why are you leaving? You promised me. Either way, he should be able to like sever that connection or stop her from using transcendentals, right? I'll stay by your side until you tell me to go. You said you would stay by my side until I tell you to go. You promised. Don't go. Please don't go. Was this in the... I think this might have been in the prologue. It looks familiar. To be continued. Another very good chapter. I really want to see where Lise goes as a character from here. And Yuta also, I think, was really, really, really good here. So yeah, really good chapter again. Not as much crazy discussion, because we're just kind of having things happen between the two of them. Again, I like the character stuff a lot, especially when it comes to Lise, but I think that Yuta's written really well here. But either way, we have another afterword to go read. Then, yes, it was just a cloak, not clothes. You must dress properly. You cannot run out in your underwear like Lise. Then, why'd you buy something like that? He has a bunch of bags. I didn't even pay attention to that. Since it was on the top floor and there was no one to see from a distance, I guess they didn't really pay attention. However, the Garuda tribe's eyesight's always an exception. Then Lise does a good job of keeping track of the text, but it's not very useful. Alright? Empathy 143. Alright, one more for this week. Then, we'll see what happens. We'll do one more, and then I need to go do ORB. And next week I'll be back for 3 more, I guess. And maybe we can do more than 3 next week. It depends. We'll see how things go. And now we've made it to episode 140, season 2. You know when you're sad about something that you can't tell other people about? It's so comforting just to have someone you can cry with. Am I that kind of person for you, Yuta? And he nods. I see. That kind of makes me happy. If you ever want to cry about something, come and see me, anytime. Back then, I suddenly became curious. I wondered who can Lise cry openly with? Can I become that person for her? And we're back to where she's crying in the present time. If I say that these tears of hers make me a little bit happy, does that make me a bad person? Oh man, that's really good. That's a really good line moment too. With him realizing that he's somebody that she feels comfortable enough with to cry. And then... Wait, no. What am I thinking right now? The reason Lise is leaning on me is because she forgot the terrible thing that happened to her that day. But not remembering what happened doesn't make it go away. I have to leave for Lisa's sake, because if I stay with her, the same thing will definitely happen again. No, don't go, Yuta. No. I'm sorry, Lise. I want to stay by your side, but if I do... And again, I just wish he... this is one of those things that I like in fictional stories a lot. Communicate a little bit more. Again, I think that if Yuta was able to, even if he didn't tell her the full truth, just communicate a little bit for her, that would probably help Lise a lot. I feel like Yuta's not doing the best thing by not communicating here. I think he needs to communicate at least a little bit. Are you worried that'll happen again? Don't worry about that, Yuta. I'm really fine. And she kisses him. We have your justice and mine, part 6. I'm not sure how I should comfort you. First of all, Lise says she doesn't remember anything that happened. And then, I can't remember. I guess I fell asleep while waiting for Asha. But we see she does remember, of course. And she even didn't want him to go, even then. What is this? So you do remember it? You remember everything. Yet even with those painful memories, how can you? Right now. Why, Lise? Why are you... And he has that part within him and pushes her away. That was close. I almost lost my mind again. We have blood coming from her mouth. And even him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Lise. Shoot. I'm gonna have to learn recovery magic, no matter how difficult it is. I don't mind the pain, but if I faint again... And then she falls towards him. Lise. No. If I close my eyes, he'll leave again. I have to keep my eyes open. I have to hold on to him. Yuta, don't go. You can't leave. And of course man, this is so tough for him. Because he knows how hard she's trying. Because he can, like, read it with insight. That is rough. I wonder if he does decide to stay. I feel like he probably won't, but he does have the flesh scarf hide of bondage with her. Are you awake now? Do you feel any pain? You have no idea how surprised I was when Ron carried you here covered in blood in the middle of the night. Why the heck would you... Okay. Ron was the one who carried her over, carried in blood, so I'm assuming that Yuta probably told Ron about everything, and Ron is trying to help Yuta out in this situation. Why the heck would you do something like that when your regenerative abilities have decreased because of the Sword of Return? Plus, you don't even know how to use recovery magic. Thank you for reviving me, but Yuta? Where's Yuta? We may not be very close, but I'm gonna have to nag you a bit. From what I heard a bit from Ron about what kind of relationship you and the Rakshasa named Yuta have. But this just isn't right. Sorry, that line is so funny out of context. Even if Yuta's friendly toward you, if he can't control his instincts, you need to be able to avoid each other. That bracelet's self-regeneration quality doesn't even work in Air Plateau, so you almost really got yourself killed. It seems like Lise cannot form a non-abusive relationship. Well, I mean, I guess the relationships that Lise cares the most about are the most abusive. And again, it's one of those things where you can't fully blame Yuta for his abuse, because, I mean, it's one of those things where, let's say somebody was in a relationship with somebody who has a mental illness and they can't always control their actions to the best degree, and they physically abuse them. That's kind of the situation that Lisa and Yuta are in. So it's like one of those things where, you know, even if you feel sympathy for Yuta because he's not always fully in control of his actions, he is, and even if you see that he cares about Lise, he is still physically abusive towards her. Again, not like purposefully, willingly, but the fact is that he still is. So there is that. And then, of course, the other relationship she cares most about being the relationship with Asha, which is, once again, not just physically abusive, but also emotionally manipulative, at the very least. Like, to say the very least. So, yeah, the relationships she cares the most about are not the safest. Do you really think that no one would care if that happened? It doesn't work like that. Ron was so worried and upset after seeing what happened to you yesterday. Damn it, looks like she remembers that he almost ate her in Calibloom. What should I do? If she approaches Yuta first, even while remembering all of that, she must really be out of her mind. Crap, she's lost her way because she doesn't have anyone to turn to since Asha ended up like that. I should have looked after and taken care of her more. That Rakshasa Yuta seems to have left you with Ron since he was really worried about you. Ron also cares for you a lot. I know that you must feel hopelessly lost now that Asha's in prison since you depended on her so much, but still, you can't be so careless with your own body, for your own sake and that of the people around you. Thank you for the advice, but I haven't felt hopelessly lost about Asha being imprisoned. That's not true, not at all. Do you know where Yuta went? No, all I know is that he disappeared as soon as he delivered you to Ron. I see. Well, I want to learn recovery magic. Could you teach me? You mean Hotias Fiends? That spell's so hard that even Ron gave up on learning it. The calculations are completely different from other spells. Even Ron almost failed at this spell, and he has no need to calculate when using any magic. How dare a mere book anger me? Still, if I learn a bit now, I could at least try to use it when I'm in danger. And we see the Logic of Time is the book, and that's because the way that recovery works in Kubera seems to be more turning back things to a better state than it is like, manipulating matter to make them better. When I read a book about Bhavati Kubera, I looked for books about stuff like astronomy and physics, and we see the height of bondage moves and wraps around her. Oh, right, I forgot to tell you. This is what you were wearing. You looked uncomfortable, so I took it off and put it aside, but whenever you get a bit far away from it, it just flies right over and sticks to you. That's why I couldn't hang it up on its own, so I folded it up and put it by the bedside. Apparently it's Yuta's scarf modified with the height of bondage as material. He must have come to give that to you. Yuta's. And then, when I'm by her side, she's in pain. Even if I go far away, she's in pain. If she has no choice but to be in pain either way, then I'll try to do as she wishes. And we see stuck around. I hope that this choice will be at least slightly better for her. To be continued. That is an interesting choice too. And we have the conflicted nature. Because again, it's not like Yuta's trying to purposefully hurt Lise. And Lise really needs this advice from Rana of, hey, I don't really care if you like him. Other people would care if you were hurt too, and you're going to continue to get hurt. And Yuta now stuck between a rock and a hard place of he wants to keep her safe, but he's like, if I go away from her, she ends up getting hurt. If I stay with her, she ends up getting hurt. And she wants me to stay with her, so if she's going to end up getting hurt either way, should I do what it is that she wants? Like, even if he wants to leave her because he thinks it'd keep her safe, if he can't keep her safe either way, should he just default to what it is that Lise wants? Really good. Again, because it's one of those things where I don't think there's necessarily a right and wrong, or even if there is, it's not a simple one. So I do think that the complexity here is very, very good. But either way, these two chapters, I feel like in terms of the dialogue, mainly, I guess, because it was focused more on the single conflicts and the sort of smaller amount of characters, not as crazy long as that first one, because the first one we focused on kind of a lot. But yeah, either way, let's go ahead and read the afterword and end there. Afterward this time says, I was going to write a review after waking up from a nap, but I woke up in less than 4 hours. What the heck? These days, every single one of my meetings has to be taken care of, so the most urgent task is the battle against the deadlines. I have to meet them properly next week. A comic that that cleverly hides underwear. A comic where the underwear doesn't even look like underwear. Then it said that he shouted, I won't be defeated by books, and then tried to defeat the books in this way. For those of you who are worried that you won't be able to wash Lise anymore, just take off your cloak and wash it right next to you. Okay. Because of what they said before, where they were joking about Lutz not being able to wash after getting stuck with the height of bondage. But places like the beach might be a bit tricky. You have to wear a cape when you go into the ocean. And then empathy 211, a lot for this one. But yeah. Either way, very fun set of 3 chapters. Kubera is always amazing, and I had a ton of fun with it this time around, but I do want to focus on getting this video up for you all, like I always say at the end. So I'm going to go get to work on ORV, and then I'll get to work on editing this and everything. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching and everything. I don't think there were any new patrons, but if I've missed anybody, I'll check and add them when I can. But thank you to people who are already patrons and members, and the usual, like if you did like the video, comment on there to tell me what you thought of these chapters, my thoughts and reaction. There's a lot to discuss here. Things are very, very deep and intricate. Subscribe for more if you want to. There's tons more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. If you want a link to the Discord server, it is free and open for anyone. And if you'd like to help support the channel, help me to keep making videos and stuff, then did I already say if you want to leave a super chat or thanks, it's appreciated. I don't remember. But if you want to help support the channel and help me to continue to make videos and also get your name at the end of videos, get One Piece videos a bit early, you can hit join down below to become a member. Go to patreon.com/HakuOfTheTubes, or a link will be in the description to become a patron. Thank you so much to people who are already patrons and channel members up here on screen. Thank you to chosen regulars Evan Hawley and Bertie Wooster, Magical Girls, FR Nono, JA and the D-Man, Cheriton students, David Langstaff and Folded Ghoul, Slayer candidates, SG and Stan Cedar, and Pure Elements, Pater Real, and Elsa the Storyteller. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.